And now we're going to look on Daf Chavav Omid Beis. V'yeino oches b'ktzitza. Ktzitza is where the shin is embedded in the tefillin, and that makes it into what's called tashmi. That makes it into what's called gufa de kedusha, inherent kedusha. The straps have the halacha and status of tashmishe kedusha. So divrei Rabbi Yaakov. So Rabbi Yaakov makes this distinction. He's not going to allow you to grab onto the tefillin themselves, the batim, because of the shin. And that would be, since he has the state of carry, that would be a desecration of Kedushas tefillin, but he can remove his tefillin with the straps, which normally we wouldn't do, but we're allowed to do it in this case of carry. And this is really why this brisa was quoted here. Kama shenas keva, the brisa spells out how much is shenas keva. Shenas aroy, excuse me. Kidei hiluch mea am. The time it takes to walk 100 am. Now, keep in mind that the Chachamim here in this brisa did not disagree with Rav Yaakov about someone who's wearing tefillin and he has to remove the tefillin because he saw carry. He should take it off with the straps, which is only tashmiche kedusha. But the disagreement seems to be about whether you could sleep a deep sleep while you're wearing tefillin. The Mefarshim explained the very fact that Rabbi Yaakov is talking about a person who's, while he's wearing tefillin, he's in a sleep situation and he sees carry. This cannot be a person who's taking a nap. A person takes a short nap would not see carry. It means that Rabbi Yaakov allowed him to take a deep sleep while he's wearing tefillin. On that, the Chacham disagree, and they say we're only going to allow you shenas aroy, the time it takes to walk 100 amos, and not shenas keva. Get this, you're not allowed to sleep during the day. Bless you. Did you ever hear this? Siesta time. I have to sleep during the day. No, I'm not allowed to sleep during the day. Rashi, third line down from the top. Mipnei bittul teva. If you sleep during the day, you're being mevatel Torah. Yeah, but what happens if I made a trade-off? I'll stay up a little later at night, and I'll sleep. I'll make up the sleep time during the day. No, Rashi says we want Torah during the day. Billy Plod, the Mefarshim derived from Rashi that Talmud Torah Bayom is more important than Talmud Torah Balayla. Pella, this Rashi. Yeah, we're learning this just stuff yomi, but I'm just giving you food for thought. Also, sleep the amount of time that a horse sleeps. A horse doesn't sleep very long. Apparently, the horse takes a little bit of a doze for a short period of time, and then immediately wakes up. The kamashena sus shitim nishme, 60 breaths. Okay, how much is that? How long is that? So some say that this is a half hour. Yeah. Others say that's 3.5 minutes. Wow, a power nap of 3.5 minutes. That's cheap. Give me 3.5. I'd take a half hour. Anyway, there's a third shita that it's the shita, the Bir Alocha and the Mishnah Berurah. It's 3 hours. I mean, we really went, from 3.5 minutes to 3 hours. Omar Abaye, Shinsei Demar Kira. Now, Mar is Rabba. Rabba was Abaye's Rebbe, and he says the sleep of my Rebbe during the daytime, when he took a short power nap, was the same time that his Rebbe, my Rebbe's Rebbe, that's Rabba's Rebbe Rav, would sleep. Uda Rav, and where did Rav learn from? How did he learn from his Rebbe how long you're allowed to sleep and nap during the day? Kidder Rebbe, like Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, his Rebbe. Where did Rebbe learn it from? Kidder David. Again, he wasn't a contemporary of David HaMelech, but there was a tradition that David HaMelech would rest the David Kidder Susya, like a horse. How much is a horse's nap? The Susya Shita Nishmei, 60 breaths. It's really interesting. You have to have a Kabbalah from your Rebbe going all the way back to David HaMelech to know how long you're allowed to nap during the day. Abai Havinayim Kidema Ayel Mipumpedisa Lebei Kuven. Abai would rest during the day, the amount of time that it would take to travel from Pupadusa to Bei Kuve. Okay, how long is the distance is this? Rashi says that it is Shisa Parsi. It's about 10 lines down from the top. 6 parsos. Again, impossible. This is not to be understood. 6 parsos. A parsa is 4 meal. A meal is 18 minutes. Multiply 18 minutes by 4, you get what, 72. That's 1 parsa. Multiply 72 by 6. That means you're talking about 8 hours. Who can sleep 8 hours during the day? I mean, a taxi driver on a night shift, or my son, working in Asuta, a night shift, he sleeps 8 hours during the day. Well, he doesn't even get 8 hours. So this Rashi is an absolute pella. But again, other Rishonim say that it's 1 meal, which means 18 minutes, and that's based on a Gemara in Gittin Daf Dal. So in any event, even though Abaye, according to this second opinion, which is the opinion apparently of the Ramami Pano, that Abaye only took a nap for 18 minutes, his Rebbe Rav Yosef was not happy. Well, Rav Yosef has a strange relationship with Rabbi, with Abaye. It's a Rebbe Talmud relationship, but they were colleagues to some extent. Anyway, Kari Rav Yosef, when Rav Yosef realized that Abaye was sleeping for 18 minutes during the day, he quoted a pasuk in Mishlei, "Ad Masai Atzel Tishkav Masai Taku Mishnasecha." How long are you going to sleep, you Atzel, you lazy person? Says Shlomo. When will you finally get up from your sleep? Of course, he was sleeping for 18 minutes during the day, according to that. Oh, according to Rashi, he was sleeping for 8 hours. Okay, that's something different. We learned to the Brayso. He comes to sleep by day and he's wearing his tefillin. He has 2 options. He can take off his tefillin and then go to sleep. Or he can leave his tefillin on. It's not maniach, it's maniach. Anyway, Alayla, however, he's not allowed to leave him on during the nighttime. So if he goes to sleep at night, we're afraid that he's definitely going to fall into a deep sleep. And Rashi says, Alayla choletz. Rashi says, even though he went to sleep with a mindset he's only going to sleep for a short amount of time, but he may change his mind and he'll fall into a deep sleep. Divrei Rabbi Nosson. So that's as far as mature people are concerned. However, Hayalodim, says Rabbi Yossi, when you talk about younger people, even married younger people, even if they wanted to go to sleep during the day, we're not going to allow them to wear their tefillin. It's young people are more passionate and they have tumah, they have keri. So we're always afraid that he might have keri if he sleeps during the day. And we'll see that the Gemara is going to reinterpret this. And Rashi mentions it, that for a regular person, this is about 10 lines, 15 lines after that, Lefisha biyom ain't darkol chamich in each time. He doesn't usually go into a deep sleep and he won't have an intimate relationship with his wife. But young people might have an intimate relationship even during the day. Lema kasava Rabbi Yossi balkeri osalaniach tefillin. If he'll have a discharge, a seminal discharge, then he's not allowed to wear tefillin. And this has to do with what's called Takanas Ezra. This is a Gemara in Bava Kama, that a Balkari is not allowed to study or pray. And Rabbi Yossi took it a step further, and he assumed that the scope of Takanas Ezra applies even to wearing tefillin. And that also is prohibited. Amar Abaye says, no, that's not what Rabbi Yossi has in mind. He's not worried about the yeled, the young, mature person, right, the young adult, as we call him, becoming a Balkari, but the Yeladim u'v'neshoseihem imahim maskina. He's talking about a case of a young man who's sleeping in the same bed with his wife. Shema Yavali Day Hergel Dov. Now, please, Rabbosai, set me straight. Can a man actually go ahead and have an intimate relationship with his wife while he's wearing tefillin? I don't have this at all. Ton Rabbana, shachach v'shimesh b'tasam tefillin. I can't understand this for the life of me. Who would have a sexual relation with his wife while he's wearing tefillin? I was thinking the famous story of Levi Yitzchak Mibaditchin, that he finds the guy underneath his carriage, fixing the carriage with the oil and the thing, and he's wearing his tefillin. So Rabbi Levi Yitzchak turns to the Rebbeinu Shalom and says, look at your people. Even they don't want to take off that tefillin, even when they're fixing the oil and the grease on the circle. I have a feeling that this Gemara has to be understood on Bichasidus because, it has to do with being mala nitzotzes and things like that. But I get the impression that wearing tefillin was, like my father said about his grandfather, he never saw his grandfather without tefillin. I have a feeling that their tefillin were different than ours. They wore it all day, and you weren't even aware of your tefillin. It's so funny because my grandchildren are learning in the yeshiva in the old city where they wear tefillin the whole day. It's called Zilma. And I said to my wife, it seems like, it's going back 4 generations back into history. Because my father's grandfather, he was the Lubavitcher, he always wore tefillin. The funny thing is, we have one picture of my great-grandfather, he's not wearing tefillin. It says, oh, machlokas, what's going on here? So they say he took it for a passport. He had to take off his tefillin. I don't know if that's true or not. Eino oches lo b'ritzua v'lo b'ktzitza. Okay, what does he do if he's having a relationship with his wife and now he reminds himself he's wearing tefillin? Then he should not take off the tefillin, not even with the straps. Achiyitol yadav. He should get up and wash his hands. V'yitlem, and then he can. Yitlem means he removes his tefillin. They should die. Maskoniyasan. We're afraid that his hands are active and he touched an unclean part of his body, and in the middle of his marital relationship, his hands became tameh. He shouldn't remove the tefillin with his hands. Okay, we'll just try to learn the Mishnah in the next 3 minutes. They brought him something to taste. Litom. It was only to ima. Means it was an achilas aroy. Achilas aroy does not generate a chiv sukkah. Another case, very similar. Rav Gamliel, they brought him shnei kosovos, 2 dates, udli shamayim, and a little bit of water to drink. The Amru, and both Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai and Rav Gamliel declared ha'elum la sukkah. Take them up. They used to have a sukkah up in the gag, up in the roof. Let's then take it up to the roof. We're not going to eat this achilas aroy outside the sukkah. However, Rabbi Tzadok, Ochel Pachas Mikir Beitza, when they brought food to Rabbi Tzadok and it was less than a beitza's worth of food, Nitolo b'mapa, he grabbed the food with a cloth. Rashi says that he did not wash his hands until Sidayim. Now this food was bread. Achlo chutz l'sukkah, he ate it outside the sukkah. It was only a kibeitza's worth. V'lo birech achrav, and he didn't recite Birkas Hamazon. And to finish up today's shir, we have a long Rashi. This is a very lumdish piece of research on Rashi's part. Nitala b'mapa, lo natal yadav, did not wash his hands. Elakarach b'mapa yadav, he rather wrapped a cloth around his hands and grabbed onto the bread. Why? Because mishum nekiyus, the only reason that he wrapped a cloth around his hand is because he wanted to keep his dirty hands, so to speak, his hands might be dirty, away from the bread. It's purely a health consideration. Why? What about Netilas Yadayim? What about eating in the sukkah? What about Birkas Hamazon? Because Rabbi Tzadok holds like Rabbi Yehuda in Masechet Brachos. Rabbi Yehuda holds that Pachos Mikabetza, less than a Kabetza, is not considered an achila. Lo boy Netilas Yadayim, If it's not an achila, you don't have to wash your hands. Lo boy sukkah. If it's not an achila, you don't have to sit in sukkah. Lo boy birkas hamazon li achrov, because the Torah says v'achalta v'savata uberachta. What is considered achila? It's only the savata. Achila sheyesh ba svia, that's called achila. V'hainu kibeitza. Says Rashi, Avalafanav. Hamotzi lechem in Aretz, which is called a bracha rishona, becholdu. Boy bracha, no matter how little of amount you eat, you have to recite a bracha. Why? Sharei nena, because you benefited. It's not an achila, but it's anah. The asal enos min olam hazev lo bracha. So the machayim of bracha rishona is not achila, but anah, and that applies even in koldu. The machayev of bracha achrona, birkas hamazon, is visavata, which means an achila sheyesh ba svia, and that means kibetza. And the tils yadayim and birkas hamazon is one halacha, one machayev, and if there's no chiyuv of birkas hamazon, it's not an achila, then there's no chiyuv the tils yadayim. Hence, Rabbi Tzadok didn't even wash his hands. Why did he wrap his hands around with a cloth? Only for the kiyus, Rashi says. Only for purpose of cleanliness. But as far as a bracha rishon is concerned, hana is the machayev, and therefore he would have to make a bracha rishon. The pella here, Rabosai, is that achlo chutz l'sukkah. He ate it outside the sukkah. And Rashi says that had it been a kibetza, he would have had to go into the sukkah, but it was less than a kibetza. Well, the truth is, even if it was a kibetza, I don't know if he would have to go into the sukkah, because sukkah is not the machayev of sukkah is not a universal definition of achila as a categorical definition. The machayev of sukkah is ketru kain teduru, and if a person would eat a kibetza, then I don't know if that's enough to qualify as an achila of a dira, to enjoy a normal residence, so to speak. And this leads us to the Gemara on the bottom of Daf Chavav Beis, which we'll have to leave till tomorrow. Thanks so much.
One who said he doesn't eat anything.
That he was machmir on himself, and tomorrow we'll have a whole discussion.
The whole Hasidic thing that you don't even drink water.
Right, not even drinking water outside the sukkah. Although if it rains, the Ramah paskins that if he stays in the sukkah while it's raining, he's a hedger. That's not a good thing to be. But that we'll pick up tomorrow. What's the difference between achila sarai and achila when the geshamim are coming? Everyone should have a great day.